it is it's poignant because it really says what I want to say for my talk this morning. And it's a story about a first grade child. And each one of them, it was the first of the year, excuse me, and the teacher had asked each one of them to share their dreams, and that way she could find out a little bit about them. So one by one, the children got up, and one announced, I want to be a banker like my father. And then the other one said, well, I want to be a nurse like my mother. And then another one says, well, I want to be a teacher like you, Miss Smith. And the last child to speak was the shyest child in the class. And so he got up and he said, well, when I get big, I'm going to be a lion tamer. I'm going to work in the circus. And I'll get in a cage full of fierce lions. I'm going to have my whip and my gun and that chair. And I'm going to get those lions so that they do everything that I want to do. They're going to make leaps through fire and go through hoops and obey my every command. And then he stopped and he looked at his classmates and they all had their mouths open. And he realized in that moment that it was hard for them to believe what he was saying. And then he quickly added, well, and of course I'll have my mother with me. I love that story. I've told it before, some of you probably heard it, but anyway, it's just a good reminder because that little boy, unbeknownst to him, was being divinely aligned. And my topic this morning is divine alignment. And he was living his life according to the 3 C's, which is the necessary ingredient that we all need in order to express God as what we are. It's that infinite goodness in our daily living. So what are these 3 C's? Well, somebody in our book club asked me what I was going to be talking about today, and I said, well, it's divine alignment, and it's about the power of the three C's. And someone said, well, I know what that is. And I said, oh, yeah, what is it? And she said, well, it's got to be cognac, champagne, and Chardonnay. Okie dokie. Well, it's not quite. But you could get high on spirit if you wanted to do that with those 3 C's. But the little boy in his divine alignment had the courage to get up and tell his story. He was very shy. He was certainly committed to the idea of being this ferocious lion tamer in the face of these fierce lions. And he was committed to his idea through his enthusiasm, and even though he wavered a bit in his confidence, he had a solution about how to fix it, and he would bring his mother. So that's the power of the 3 C's. We have the courage, the commitment, and the confidence that we need in order to really allow God to be our guiding light, to show us the way. As I had said, you can kind of get what I'm talking about from my treatment this morning, because I'm just right there with it. So I want to talk about these 3 qualities in detail so that we will be able to use them in a more conscious way. And interestingly enough, the Latin root of the word courage is heart. And we all know if we don't have our heart into whatever it is that we're doing, it'll just fizzle. It will not be successful. And so courage and heart are synonymous. It's kind of like ham and eggs, peanut butter and jelly. You can't have one really without the other. So courage takes action, but the heart of the action that we take has an emotional quality to it. It's the love of whatever it is that we are doing. And when you have these 2 things working together, the courage and the heart of the matter, we feel what it is that we're trying to do. We feel the desire as a part of the equation. And we all know, as if you've taken the classes, that we have to have feeling in our treatments. We have to feel that the thing is already complete in our mind. So really it's the feeling aspect of the courage, the action that we take, that impresses the subjective mind, that calls on the creativity of the intelligence of God to move whatever our desire is of the heart into some form. And then we call that a demonstration. So what I thought about that is, well, having heart, what does that really mean? And 4 qualities come to mind. And the first one is, if you have heart, you have a generous disposition. Has anyone ever told you you have a big heart? Well, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about what they see in you is this generosity of spirit. They're seeing a way that you are, that lets love come forth. And you know what? It takes courage to express that. And once we start doing it, it's just like you can't stop. You just keep doing it. So in that generous disposition, there's also affection, which is a strong feeling for life. There's not only affection for other people, but there's an affection. It's kind of infectious. Enthusiasm, if you will, that comes across when you're having heart. And then I think one of the definitions of heart is compassion, which is, it's a little different than having sympathy. I think compassion is the ability to empathize, to know where someone else is without entering into the state, because when you sympathize rather than empathize, you enter into I think you lower the energy of life when it's sympathy, because it adds to the problem, rather than the empathy that you're saying, I understand where you're coming from. We all want to be understood. And when that empathy comes in that way, but you don't say, you poor thing, how awful it is. We don't add that as metaphysicians. What we add is, and I know there's an answer. I know there's another possibility. I know there's something better for you on the way. So that lifts the experience. And then, of course, heart is love. We say that love is the seat of the heart. It's just, that's where it is. And then I likened courage and heart to what Michael and Louis did here when they started this church center. It took a lot of courage to do that. There was already a center that I was leaving, and it had been there for many years. They were a member of that. They left many friends. There were naysayers, including me, because I knew what would happen with the church, and I didn't want it to happen. So, and not that I know Louis and Michael needed to do what they did. And here I am supporting them. So, it's just round robin. But nonetheless, they had all of these qualities, the generous disposition, the affection, their strong feeling about what it is that they're doing for us, and the compassion, their ability to empathize. I know we've all been on the receiving end of that. And the love that we feel here when we come. So I think Michael and Louis are the best examples of divine alignment and the power of the 3 C's, especially the courage to move forward. Now, I of course always go to the dictionary to see what it said about courage, and this is the definition. It's the attitude or response of facing and dealing with anything recognized as dangerous, difficult, or painful, instead of withdrawing from it. It's the quality of being fearless or brave. And so when I looked at that, I thought, well, difficult or painful. I don't know that it was painful, or I know it was difficult for Michael and Louis to do that. Starting any church, I remember when I started the Chico Church in 1978. It wasn't easy. People said, you'll never do it. They tried to make unity here, and it didn't fly. You're going to fail. And I showed them. But I was committed. I had courage. I wasn't going to back down, and neither did Michael and Louis. And so, painful as it may have been that they had to leave their friends and all of that, they gained in so many ways, and they didn't withdraw from it. See, courage won't let you withdraw from whatever it is that your dream is, or something, a goal that you set for yourself. And it's the quality of being fearless and brave. So, in short, courage can be a transforming power. And so I'm going to ask you to close your eyes for a minute. And I want you to ask yourself, when was the last time I acted courageously? When did I last express compassion or love through an act of kindness? Have you ever taken action in the face of fear or dared to do something your heart told you to do, yet others were naysayers? If so, then you were like the little boy. You have one of the qualities it takes to be divinely aligned. And so you can open your eyes now. And when you are divinely aligned, the power of the universe backs you up. Now, it's not that the power ever leaves us. That power is always there. But it's like the light switch. It's, electricity is always available to us. It was available in biblical times. It's been available since the universe was created, but we didn't know how to tap into it. And now we know how to tap into it. So it's written in Scripture that the pure in heart shall see God. And so when the courage of whatever it is that we want shows up, and we use all of the qualities that I've described, we become the face of God in that moment. We have every quality in play. We're divinely aligned. We're centered in the consciousness, and the things then just flow. And if an obstacle shows up, then we don't let that stop us. We know that somehow this can be removed, that this too shall pass. It didn't come to stay. It came to pass away. So, that's courage. Now, the second C is commitment. Oh my gosh, not that word. So many people, a lot of people think it's a dirty word. Commitment, what are you talking about? You want me to commit to do this and that for how long and what? For some, making a commitment is like asking them to go to jail or be imprisoned and don't pass go. When I was actively ministering in the Chico Church, there were people who had been coming to services and classes for years, and they wouldn't join. And I finally got the nerve. I felt I knew one of them well enough. In fact, I knew several of them well enough, and I had the courage to ask, what is it that won't allow you to make a commitment to the church through membership? I mean, you do everything else. You are a member, not in name or on the signed sheet, but you do everything that a member is supposed to. It just puzzles me. Why is that? So the five words that most of them used was, I'm not a joiner. Anybody ever use that? I'm not a joiner. what does that mean? It's like, you joined the human race. Ooh, okay. Well, the other aspect of that, when I said, what does that mean? It says, I want to be free to do what I want to do when I want to do it, without anybody telling me what I need to do. I don't want to be tied down to something consistently. So then, in further questioning, because I think those are reasons and excuses, excuse me, Michael. But it just, I think we have to further examine what's behind all that, because what, in my questioning, and they didn't mind me doing this. In fact, they thanked me afterward and they signed a membership. A few people shared that what they really feared was that too much would be expected of them. And then later on it was revealed that, and maybe they wouldn't measure up. Maybe they wouldn't be able to fulfill what was being asked of them. And I thought that was really interesting. So fear of commitment, I think, is the little devil that often plays a part in people's inability to participate fully in a chosen venture. And for heaven's sakes, commitment to a church or an organization or your club or whatever it is, I mean, you don't sign something and give your life away. I mean, if you do, that you're a fool. But I mean, you can stop coming here anytime you want. You don't have to. You can call up and say, "Take me off your membership list. I don't want to do this anymore." I mean, we're all free. We're free to choose whatever it is we want to choose, but choose, I believe, we must. I believe that through commitment, just let's take Michael and Lily, for example. What would have happened to us we wouldn't be sitting here this Sunday if those two men had not been committed to this church center. We wouldn't be sitting here. They would have given up. It was hard in the beginning. And they didn't falter. They stood steadfast. They knew the outcome. And so look at us here today. I mean, we have this wonderful place to come to. We have camaraderie, we have events, we have classes, we learn and grow together, we laugh and cry together. We live and die together. And we support one another. But it comes through the commitment that we've made to help create what we've created here. And Michael and Louie can't do it themselves, but they are the catalyst, and then we've joined that stream of consciousness that lets us move in that stream. So one of the things that, and you have this in your bulletin, it's the fold-up sheet, is I've always been motivated by Goethe's thoughts about commitment. And I know Michael and Louie use this to motivate them as well. And so if you just take that out and follow along, I want to read it. And I thought you could take this home, and if you've had a problem with really joining in and being a part of a center, you might want to think about this, and maybe that would be your motivation for making further commitment. Or commitment to anything, to a goal, to your job, to your relationship, no matter what it is. And so this is what it says. It says, until one is committed, there's hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness. Concerning all acts of initiative and creation, there is one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans, that the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. providence moves. All sorts of things occur to help one that would never have otherwise occurred. A whole stream of events issues from the decision, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidents and meetings and material assistance which no man could have dreamed would have come his way. That was a Troward sentence. Whatever you can do or dream you can, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Now, for one, Gerda had a deep understanding of what it took to commit to life in whatever way that we're being called to do that. But I think this tells us really how to do it. So, I'm going to ask you another question. Is there a relationship, a project, maybe like cleaning your office or getting your kitchen organized?
Get a nerve.
Yeah. Or an idea from which you have drawn back or hesitated? If so, there's always the opportunity to change your mind about what you formerly perceived a commitment to be. So whatever you can do or dream you can, begin it. Take one step. You know, some hippie stopped and asked whoever it was, how do you get to Mount Olympus? And he said, one step at a time. One step at a time. You look at the drawer, you straighten out the drawer. You look at the bookshelf, you take the ones out you don't use. I mean, you know, do an hour at a time. Whatever it takes to make the commitment for you in whatever the challenge is. If you need ideas for your relationship and a deeper commitment to your partner, there's all kinds of classes. There's all kinds of information. Go to Michael Louie for counseling. Come to one of us practitioners for treatment. Do whatever you need to do in order to take the first step, in order to make that commitment. And then for the third C. Now, let's see, somebody else said what the third C was, and I forget what it was. Cheryl?
Oh, I came up with courage.
You have courage, commitment?
Compassion.
Oh, compassion. And then,
Forgetting the third one.
yeah, okay, well, whatever. It was different than mine, and mine is confidence. Yeah, you have to have confidence in order to fulfill whatever it is you want. Now, there's all kinds of confidence. There's self-confidence. Of course, we all have to have self-confidence. Confidence in who we are and our talents and the things that we accomplish and all of that. But I want to take confidence in a little different way, in that what I want us to have confidence in, which helps to build every kind of confidence, is the confidence of God. The confidence that we are an expression of the Christ Spirit, that there's this animated light being that lives in us, whether we know it or not, whether we acknowledge it or not. It does not go away. It is what we are. And as the poet says, it awaits our, shoot, I'm having a senior moment. Hold on, I'll get it in a minute. It lies in sweet repose, awaiting our recognition. Isn't that sweet? It lies in sweet repose, awaiting our recognition. And so all it takes is for us is a shift in our perception of whether or not God is for us or against us. And if you've got God up there in the sky, you know what? You've got a God that's against you. You've got a punishing God. You've got the old concept. You've got it. God doesn't punish. God loves us. God is the unconditional aspect of love and wholeness and purity of being. It is what we are in truth. So the confidence that we're able to have is really faith in God. Faith in the power. And I have enough time, so I'm going to tell you this story. I didn't know if I would or not, but I did a lesson a long time ago, and let's see. Well, I forget what the title of the talk was, but anyway, this story, it was about faith. Oh, it was Mountain Moving Faith, is what the title was. And this story has to do with a little church in a faraway county that they raised the funds, they had built the church, and lo and behold, it was like a week away from opening day, the city came out to do its final inspection and said, you can't move in. What do you mean we can't move in? Well, you don't have enough parking places. That sounds like Chico, doesn't it? Sure, but it's Butte County. Well, the minister was devastated, and so that Sunday he announced to the congregation, okay, we need to pray. There's got to be a way for God to act in our lives through this church. We have worked too hard, and everything has fallen into place. The building is built, the parking lot has been paved, and even though there isn't enough parking places for all of us, we could find places, but God, let's pray and see what happens. You know what? 2 days later, a week before the opening, a man walked into the office, had his rugged boots on and his baseball hat, and had his jeans on, and he said, I'm a contractor from the county over yonder, and he said, you see that dirt in your backyard, that great big hill there? Looks like a mountain, doesn't it? He said, I need that dirt. I'm doing a project, and I need that dirt to fill in these places that I have. And he said, I'll move that hill for you if you'll let me. And the minister said, are you kidding me? And he said, no. He said, it'll be moved tomorrow if you give me permission. They moved it. They not only moved it, they paved the rest of the parking lot for them, and they moved in the next Sunday. Now, to me, that's mountain moving faith. In the face of the county saying, no, you can't, and this church membership saying, yes, we can. With God, all things are possible. With God, all things are possible. Now, in order to be divinely aligned, we need to know that whatever it is that we need is given before we even know we need it. Now, someone in the class, Treat Yourself to Life, asked me, we were talking about intuition, and she said, how do you know when you've had a sign? How do you know when it's God speaking to you and the idea that you have? How do you know that's the one that you're supposed to move on? And I said, well, the thing that I have found within myself, and I really have paid attention to how I think and what comes up for me, and to be able to distinguish between my wishful thinking and what it is that is really mine, that's to do next, and which is the God voice in me. And so this is what I've done for myself, because I've noticed it happens. There will be 3 different things that will tell me about what I'm supposed to do. Well, the example is, should I go to Texas or not? And so I turn the radio on and the Yellow Rose of Texas is playing. I mean, that's a silly thing, but it's those kind of things. Or I'll get a phone call from somebody and they'll say something, and it has the exact thing that I was thinking about. Or somebody, two other people will be talking and they'll be talking about this and that, and then all of a sudden somebody says what I need to hear. And so there's my three things, and then it feels, there's a feeling. We go back to the heart of the matter, and something in your heart will say, this is right. It's now. It's time to move now. You know, it's going to rain. Take your umbrella. But the sun's out. No, take your umbrella. Okay. Yeah. Because I turn the radio on and, you know, singing in the rain. Oh, yeah. So, confidence, having the faith in God is it's saying yes when everything else says no. It's believing truly all things are possible, that there is enough money at the end of the month, that I can change my health, if the job is right for me, I will know there's something in me that leads me. That it's just it comes as, and I don't know if it's a voice or an inner feeling or what it is for you, but it comes when you're divinely aligned. So this is what I'd like to close with. There's a couple of affirmations, and I'd like you to just say them after I say them. I am the courage of God in action. I am the courage of God in action. I know commitment is a catalyst for allowing creative ideas to flow through me. I trust myself. I have the confidence of God to be the best I can be. And so it is. And so there. And so would the ushers please come forward.